Step aside, Animal Well. Looks like you're not the only indie release of the year with a bunch of secrets to hide. UFO 50 is a collection of 50 retro-inspired games, but it's more than just a bunch of random arcade titles. You see, the fictional game developer that made all these games, UFO Soft, actually has a deep and quite believable history, and one of its employees may have hidden a secret game of sorts in the form of a wild scavenger hunt. Today I'm going to walk you through the community's discoveries, which were all made within the first few days after release, by the way, and give you some hints along the way in case you want to pause at any point and try to solve this one for yourself. All this info can be found in the unofficial UFO 50 Discord server. I had nothing to do with any of it, and if you want to get in on any further in-game discoveries, it's definitely the place to go. Central to this whole mystery is the in-game terminal. Here you can enter a variety of 8-digit codes featuring numbers and/or letters. An important thing to note when searching for hidden codes is the dash that breaks the code into two 4-digit chunks. Our journey begins somewhere on this game selection screen. Feel free to poke around here for anything suspicious. If you need help, the first code can be found in one of the game's history sections, specifically Night Manor. Greg Milk is our guy. At first glance, what pops up on the right after inputting the code seems to be nonsense. But what if all these zeros actually correspond to some sort of grid in the game? 10 by 5. It's gotta be the game selection screen. And based on the positioning of the singular number 1, Mini and Max is our game. Now figuring out where to go in the game is the difficult part. But if you shrink down in front of the bookshelf, hop up onto it and head to the right, this room here has the same symbol we just saw in the terminal. Open it inside the room and it looks like we have our first clue. 50 games for you to search through. What a hunt I have for you. I offer up this starting clue: turn your skin a shade of blue. Before we continue, now is a good time to mention that if you are planning on following along with me and trying to solve some of these riddles, you probably should at least try all 50 games first. Some are definitely a lot more tricky to figure out, but being familiar with each game will definitely help you. This one is pretty obvious though. Turn your skin a shade of blue. That's gotta be the puzzle game Camouflage. Just pop into any level, step on a blue tile, camouflage yourself, and you get the message, loud enough to wake the neighborhood cat. Also a fairly obvious one, this refers to Party House. Start a new game and simply invite enough people over to scare the black cat on the roof. And now we have, an adventure begins when a sandwich is stolen. You don't even need to actually play the game to get to the next clue, just open up Ninpec and go into the terminal during this opening cutscene. Third stinger waits in the hangar. This is where I got stumped. It's Star Waspier, which I didn't really play much of. Go to the character select screen and head over to the third guy. A column of 3 need never flee. Ah, a tactics. Line 3 soldiers up in a vertical column, get your next clue. A purple moon shines on a lonely night. I like this one. It's poetic. And it's referencing the polarizing first game in the collection, Barbuda. Thankfully, you only need to head to the left one screen to be greeted by the celestial body in question. And really with all of these clues, you don't have to make it very far into each game to collect the next riddle. But this time, we don't get another riddle. Instead, it's a terminal code. I wonder what will happen when... Whoa, is this another game? We're in the basement, playing as a potato-like character. Can't do much other than interact with some of the objects in the room, where eventually we find a prototype disc for a game called Color Racer. Pop it into the LX1 and it looks like Paint Chase, but it's a little harder. You'll have to completely fill the board in before the timer runs out to get your next clue. In the presence of Seabird royalty. That's Waldorf's journey, baby. Make your way to a penguin shop, open the terminal. A tank travels on teeth, which you may be able to do in multiple levels in Warp Tank, not sure, but a quick one is Crust Sector. Over to the hippo head and onto the teeth. Overtime kicks the referee into action. Simply time out a kick club run and wait for the ghost referee to appear. The bridge demon will send you to the spirit world. This one could give you a bit of trouble if you haven't played much of Rakshasa, but my method was mostly to avoid enemies and stick to the top platforms. Die to the first boss, which honestly you'll probably do anyways, and wait for the little death minigame to pop up. Eyes roll in the skeleton cave. Mooncat. Head a few screens over until you see giant eyeballs rolling along the ground. When words are stated but untranslated. This refers to planet Zoldath, which is procedurally generated, so you may need to give it a few tries. Not sure if the aliens will always look like these ones or not, but find the ones that speak in gibberish, and it's time for another code. We're back with our potato friend, this time in a closet. We already have one disc in our inventory, so this must take place after the basement incident. If you haven't already picked up on this, we're in the UFO Soft office building, playing as the developer Greg Milk. We can explore a lot more in this section, talking to other employees and getting a feel for the company culture at the time. The next game you find is a prototype version of Campanella, one of my favorites. Beat it and we get Out of the Mouths of Cave Children. This leads us to the next leg of our scavenger hunt and to Rock On Island. In the Village of Peace, go talk to the cave baby. When the wolf faces the angel. This is referring to Hyper Contender, another fun one, especially in 2-player, which is the kind of game you'll have to start, selecting Rek and Sephi as your contenders. A toad and a cannon side by side. Another one that'll take a bit of trial and error. This can be done in Devilition. Keep placing down pieces until you get a toad and a cannon next to each other. Head in your hands during the mayor's race. At the very beginning of Fist Hell, there's a poster for Mayor Speck hanging on the wall. Kick one of the zombies, grab its head while near the poster, and get the next clue. A crescent of sand surrounds a hole. Galfaria. Leave the starting dungeon, head left of the village, down past the lake, and there's your crescent of sand. She rates the space station 3 out of 5 stars. Campanella 2 has stars, and you can collect them with your ship. Do that until you have 3 stars in the top left to get Soap Stop. Man, this is one long scavenger hunt. This level takes the longest to complete. There are a bunch more people to talk to and places to explore than before. The creative director wants you to run an errand. Grab the music disc and deliver it. Somehow this gets you into trouble, so you go back to your cubicle, figure out you need a pen, go get one, and write up some notes to take to the manager, which finally gets him off your back so you can head into the empty cubicle. Time for another prototype. This one is completely unfinished for an unreleased game called God's Blood. Not much to it, but nonetheless, finishing gives you the first of your final set of clues. When 90 remain, a sharpshooter takes the reins. And mind you, it took the UFO 50 community mere days to figure all of this out. I really don't understand how that's possible. Mortal 2 starts you with 100 lives, get that down to 90, choose the gunner, and get Polite Clapping Greets the Red Ball's Arrival. Another golf game, this time pin golf. Play as Red and open the terminal while the audience is clapping for you. Take a seat at the sheriff's table. Hello, Grimstone. The sheriff's station has a big yellow star on the front of it, and you can find one to the left of the church in the starting town. Stand atop a gate where worms congregate. I had already beaten the first few levels of Block Koala at this point. If you haven't, you need to finish just the first one, and then head to where the gate is opened in the level select screen. What a pleasant day to park at the park. There's a park in Onion Delivery, and you can park at it. Go figure. And like that, we get our final clue. When attempting to steal, stand right next to the wheel. And that's gotta be Rail Heist. Start the game, punch the ground above the train's wheels, and drop down to the platform below. Our final code, 02291988. This time we start off in the games room, which contains a bunch of retro and even ancient forms of entertainment. Our only option here is to head up to the executive room and eventually meet with the boss. down the forever hallway, up to the roof, and onto the helicopter for a grand cinematic escape. So that was kinda weird, huh? If you poke around these levels, there are a lot more clues and little details to pick up on. Some of this stuff is referenced in different games in UFO 50 or in their history section. Right now, you can read a wonderful write-up on UFOsoft's story so far, and a lot of other untapped leads or coincidences in the game's unofficial Discord server, which I have linked below. There are some great theories flying around in there surrounding Greg Milk and his motivations for hiding this scavenger hunt experience in his UFO 50 project. I don't know how much more there is to find hidden in the game, but it does seem like things aren't quite over yet. So I may be back with another video in the future, but for now you can check out my thoughts on UFO 50 here, and I hope you all have a lovely day.